House Education Administration Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The same as the Senate amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Slater, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to create a high school equivalent to the CLEP test used in post-secondary education. If this bill is passed, it will allow high school students to demonstrate proficiency on an exam in certain subjects and receive credit for the course. I renew my motion.
Representative Slater renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 838 vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Freeman, aye. Cochran, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 95, no nays.
Senate Bill 838, having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most for series table. Call up next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 995 by Representative Stevens, relative to corporal punishment for students with disabilities. Mr. Speaker, Senate bills on the day.
Representative Stevens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 972.
Representative Stevens moves substitute and conform to Senate Bill 972. Probably second without objection. So ordered. Representative Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 972 on third and final consideration.
Representative Stevens moves passage of Senate Bill 972 on third and final consideration. Probably second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Education Administration Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, it's the same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as Senate amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Stevens, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill comes from the Tennessee Disability Coalition to help ensure that students with disabilities are not falling through the cracks and receiving corporal punishment for behavior that manifests as a result of their disabilities. The bill puts a procedure in place to consider screening children for disabilities before corporal punishment is used, and that includes parental involvement. If the student does have a disability, then the corporal punishment could still be used if the parents opt in, which is current law. The bill does not prohibit corporal punishment. The bill does not take away an LEA's ability to make its own rules about corporal punishment. It does help ensure that students with disabilities are not falling through the cracks. So with this explanation, Mr. Speaker, I do my motion.
Representative Stevens renews the motion. Representative Sapicki, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a quick question. A year or two ago, this body passed the Teachers Discipline Act that gives the teacher the ability to permanently remove an unruly or disruptive student from the classroom. I've read the bill. I don't believe it does, but I don't think anything in your bill overwrites that previous bill. Is that correct?
Representative Stevens.
That is my understanding.
Chairman Sapicki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this is an issue that I've been working on. I really appreciate the sponsors legislation, continuing to work on this. Several years ago, studies found that students with disabilities were actually subjected to corporal punishment at a much higher rate than other students. And I want you to think about that. Students with disabilities were subjected to corporal punishment at higher rates than normal students. That can set back those students tremendously. And, you know, we are working as a state when it's important that we support all students, especially those students with disabilities, and subjecting them to corporal punishment can have multiple negative consequences. And so this is an important piece of legislation, and I appreciate it. I'm happy to sign on. I'd ask all my colleagues to vote for the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Stevens.
Thank you. I renew my motion, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Stevens renews his motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none, we're voting. All those in favor of Senate Bill 972 vote aye when the bell rings. All those opposed vote no. Has every member cast a vote? Does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 90, no nays.
Senate Bill 972 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most for series stable. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 273 by Chairman Terry, relative to health. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 221.
Chairman Terry moves to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 221, probably second without objection. So ordered. Chairman Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 221 on third and final consideration.
Chairman Terry moves passage of Senate Bill 221 on third and final consideration. Properly second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Health Committee Amendment number 1.
Vice Chairman Leatherwood, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment rewrites the bill, and I move to adopt and defer to the sponsor for further explanation.
Vice Chairman Leatherwood moves adoption of amendment number 1. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of adopting amendment number 1 say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You adopted. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Chairman Terry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill allows for the Board of Medical Examiners to have input on their medical consultant. With that, I renew my motion.
Chairman Terry renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none. Any objection to the question? Seeing none. All those in favor of Senate Bill 221 as amended vote aye when the bell rings. Those opposed vote no. As every member casts a vote, does any member wish to change their vote? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 87, 2 nays.
Senate Bill 221 having received a constitutional majority, hereby declare passed by objection. Most reconsider is tabled. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 616 by Representative Travis, relative to vehicles that haul logs or pulpwood. Mr. Speaker, the Senate bill is on the desk.
Representative Travis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to substitute and conform to Senate Bill 1357.
Representative Travis moves substitute conform Senate Bill 1357. Properly second without objection. So ordered. Representative Travis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move passage of Senate Bill 1357 on third and final consideration.
Representative Travis moves passage of Senate Bill 1357 on third and final consideration. Properly second. Mr. Clerk, call it First Amendment.
House Transportation Committee Amendment number 1. Mr. Speaker, same as Senate Amendment number 1.
Chairman Howell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Same as the Senate amendment. Move to withdraw.
Without objection, amendment number 1 withdrawn. Next amendment, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Speaker, no further amendments.
Representative Travis, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the House, I would say something that shortly after 7 a.m. on the morning of November the 10th, 2021, Grace Mitchell, 17, collided with the rear of a logging truck on State Highway 111. The collision resulted in Grace's untimely death. So we've brought this bill today. And I've worked with Sequatchie County High School. And this is what the bill says. It has been amended to say, requires a motor vehicle of trailered transporting a load of logs or pulpwood that protrudes at least 4 feet beyond the end of the body or the bed of the motor vehicle or a trailer to have the following secure affixed to the end of the projected. I'm sorry, it's been amended. This says that the trailer will have amended strobe or blinking lights and 2 red or fluorescent orange flags affixed to the end of the project load as that trailer is loaded. With that, I renew my motion.
Representative Travis renews his motion. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, any objection to the question? Seeing none, all those in favor of Senate Bill 1357 vote aye when the bell rings. All those opposed vote no. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Camper, aye. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Ayes 85, 2 nays, 3 present, not voting.
Senate Bill 1357 having received a constitutional majority, I hereby declare passed without objection. Most reconsider is tabled. Call the next bill, Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 619 by Representative Travis, relative to Department of Children's Services.